Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness and another Doctor Who review. This week we are covering 73 yards. Before I get to that, however, a quick reminder the fundraiser continues. For those of you unaware, I am a disabled individual, and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything regarding my scooter. They view it as a luxury item. Therefore, I'm reaching out to you, my YouTube community, for your help. Below the title in this video in the description, as well as in a separate section. Below that, you will find a spot fund linked in two places. It is easy to contribute, takes a few seconds, and it definitely will help out. At the current time, I am endeavoring to refurbish my existing scooter by obtaining the parts necessary and paying for the trained technicians to install these parts that are, in some cases, well overdue. And with that stated, the spot fund account is going towards those purchases, and it is allowing me to have a sense of safety and security in my life, and the knowledge that I can maintain my current level of independence. I pride myself on my independence, and I thrive on my independence. And although I'm not completely independent, I do what I can do. And I consider myself fortunate in that aspect. That being stated, without my scooter at my disposal, I would not be able to do anything at all. I would be essentially bedridden because I am unable to use any other type of power chair or any other type of wheelchair for that matter, because I only have limited use of one hand, and I am accustomed to the scooter I have after so long of using it. So any and all help is welcome. Please do what you can at the Spot Fund account, and it will be greatly appreciated. I do want to thank those who have contributed thus far, in addition to those who plan on contributing, as your contributions have and will make a world of difference in my life, and you will all be able to keep me from a fish out of water scenario, which is a worst case scenario should my scooter malfunction to the point of non use. And I can't let that happen. I need my scooter operational at all times. I don't have a backup, so this is all I have. So please do what you can. If you can't contribute, please like and share my video. And for all of you watching, please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and become part of the Media Awareness YouTube family. I'd love to have you. So, Doctor Who, 73 Yards, probably the best episode thus far in this most recent season of Doctor Who, and the best episode in quite some time, if I may add as well. This actually beats out the David Tennant specials that came before Christmas. And this really, really is one of the most intriguing episodes. The Doctor and Ruby land in Wales, and the Doctor and Ruby stumble across a circle. Now, just before they stumble across this circle, they are talking as they always do, and babbling, and Ruby says she's only been to Wales 3 times. And she says the first two, and she's stumbling on the third, and the Doctor and her come across this fairy circle. Now, the fairy circle is there to kind of throw us off as viewers. As it becomes very clear abundantly at that point, the Doctor, after saying, he lets a bit of information spill about the future of Ruby's timeline in terms of her life if she remains on Earth and doesn't travel with the Doctor in time and space. And it's something to do with a leader of the UK obtaining power over nuclear weapons. And he realizes that he shouldn't have said that. And as this occurs, they come across a circle. And it's a fairy circle, as the Doctor states. And it's basically a pagan tradition. And there are all these notes that are all there, sealed, folded up, and such. And Ruby picks them up and begins reading them, not thinking that they are sacred. And the Doctor ceases to be seen. And Ruby starts wondering, well, what's going on? She goes to the TARDIS. She tries to use her key. It doesn't work. Door's locked from the inside. Doctor cannot let her in, will not let her in. She goes into town, wanders into a tavern. And the entire time, there is this woman following her, an older woman. She cannot get any response from the woman, and the woman basically stays at a distance where anyone with perfect vision cannot make out details. So 73 yards roughly. So Ruby asks a woman who's passing by to prior to going into the inn to talk to the woman. The woman goes up, talks to the woman, runs off in terror. So Ruby's in the tavern. One of the guys volunteers to go talk to the woman. He runs off in terror. And they start getting Ruby completely spooked. And then they just kind of let her go, and they let her be for a little while there. And then she's told that she has to leave, that there's too much that just doesn't seem right, basically. So she goes to visit her mom and tells her mom about what's happening. And her mom says, well, I'll talk to the woman. And Ruby warns her, don't. You know, if you do, something bad will happen. And she goes, they both go outside, they're on their phones. At the, as she's walking up to the woman, you can't hear the conversation. But you just see her mom run off. And you see her in a car driving by. And we basically camps out outside the mother and grandmother's doorway. And they will not let her in. They will not talk to her. Mother says never recall again. So you're wondering, well, what's going on? Her adopted mother, I might add, because we still don't know who Ruby's actual mother is. So that was left up for debate at the end of the Christmas special, or at the beginning, however you look at it in a timey-wimey sense. So wherever Ruby goes, this woman is right there. She's on a train, and the woman is all these places outside the train, always within a certain distance in every single time she looks out. And it basically cycles through time, and you see Ruby, going through doing different things. One of the things is she's confronted by Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, one of my favorite characters, and Kate says, she knows of the situation. She's been briefed, and she basically recites that the woman, that she can't come within 73 point something odd yards, which is what Ruby had measured out herself. And she sends in her team to take the woman in. And you think to yourself, okay, this is all going to be resolved. And her team just backs off. And Kate says, I can't help you. You're on your own, basically. And leaves. And, you're left kind of wondering what's going on. And Ruby just lives out her life, basically accepting that this woman is there for good. And she sees this television broadcast of a gentleman saying that he is basically going to be running for chancellor, I suppose, a prime minister of England. And she realizes that his name matches the name of the gentleman that the doctor had mentioned years earlier, because time has passed by this point. So Ruby joins the team to work for the guy to try and find out the truth of what's going on. And she befriends, kind of, this one woman who works closely with the gentleman in question. And Roger, I believe his name is. It's really not important, but Ruby finds out from the woman that she befriends that the man is just wickedly evil. And Ruby attends this one television broadcast that the gentleman's doing when he's running for election. And he mentions that his plan is to basically get nuclear weapons and arm England and the UK, and perhaps launch an offensive. And he asks if that could be cut from the interview. And this is raising all these red flags for Ruby, and things are starting to really become clear for her to some degree. So basically, at that point, Ruby goes to this site of one of these major rallies. It's a huge stadium where this rally is going to take place, and of course the woman that is 73 yards away from her is there. So she makes certain that she's 73 yards away from the woman after discussing a little bit more with the young lady who's too well acquainted with this gentleman, it would seem, and not in a good way. She basically alludes that he is just pure evil. So Ruby gets it. She has to do something. And what better way to change things in this case than to have this mysterious woman come in contact with him, because everyone that does runs off. And she walks across the lawn that you're not supposed to walk across. They didn't want the grass disturbed, basically. They want it to look pristine for the actual day of the event, for when people enter and walk on it. So everyone's told they can't walk on it. But she walks on it to get 73 yards away from the woman. And when she does, the woman is within radius of the gentleman, and he runs off and next thing you know, you see a thing on TV that he has pulled out of the race and um, doesn't want anything to do with it at all, and doesn't want anything to do with politics, and just won't talk to anyone. And she realizes that that was the event that she needed to be there for. But it doesn't just stop there. She goes through time. She lives a full life. And she goes back to visit the TARDIS near the fairy circle. And she has someone accompanying her, as by that point in time, she is in a wheelchair. And the person accompanying her says, you know, this what's so special about this place? And she tries to explain it, but she really can't. And she just mainly talks to herself and to the doctor, basically, and that she feels like she did the right thing and that she really needed to do what she did, and etc., etc. And while on her deathbed, a short time later, you know, a nurse is explaining how the lights work, and she knows how to use voice activated lights, so she just kind of blows the woman off. And when she does, you know, in the middle of the night, she wakes up and she says lights, and the woman is in the room with her and approaches. And you see all these memories flashing in her mind. And suddenly, she is back with the doctor as exiting the TARDIS in Wales at the beginning. And she says, "Do you see that woman over there?" And the doctor's like, he looks, and the woman's gone. And Ruby doesn't see the woman either. And she was in the middle of saying that she had been to Wales 3 times. And the doctor said, when were they? And she mentions the first 2, and she kind of hesitates, and she says, well, the third one would have to be now. And to basically clarify what this is about and who the woman is. The woman, we don't really get a clear definition, but we can speculate from classic Doctor Who. In particular, a few episodes I recently watched on Blu-ray, a trilogy of episodes that I really enjoy. The Keeper of Traken, Logopolis, and Castrovalva, which are the 2 last episodes with Tom Baker and the first episode with Peter Davison. And during those episodes, there is this entity known as the Watcher that appears in Logopolis and is basically a certain distance away from the Doctor at all times. But you don't really think much of it at the time, you just wonder who the hell it is. Well, you eventually figure out, and spoilers if you haven't seen this, that it is the Doctor, because the Doctor's hanging on to this satellite dish array, and he didn't have to let go, but he does. And he realizes his time is up and he needs to regenerate. And the Watcher morphs into him and becomes Peter Davidson's Doctor. So my theory, as well as a lot of other people it would seem, is that this entity that has been following Ruby is potentially Ruby's future self, which would make sense, warning her. and not being able to come in contact with her. And whoever she came in contact with, when they asked about Ruby, and when they realize, looking at the woman who she is, they run off in terror. It makes sense. Um, it's sort of an alternate reality that splits off from the main reality of Ruby's with the Doctor because of this singular event of the Doctor making the mistake of mentioning something from the future that is going to occur, possibly. And as a result, Ruby has to stay and stop it from happening, which was meant to happen the whole time, but we don't know that initially. So it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. Um, Darren Locke's channel did a great review earlier as well, and he mentioned Legopolis as well, but he also mentioned Turn Left with Don Noble's character, um, and that's also a good example of a parallel reality. But I think that uh, although we don't see time pass with Legopolis, um, it's still relevant that Ruby had to live out her days in order for that life to be spent, for her to embody that older individual, become that older individual, and realize the truth of the matter, and then she's back in herself without really any knowledge of what happened. Um, per se, we don't really know, but she doesn't seem to know either. Will she remember is the question. And who is Ruby? That's another question to ponder. Is she the Doctor's granddaughter? Well, there was already mention to the Doctor um, in 1963 in the Beatles episode, The Devil's Chord, that the Doctor once lived across town on such and such area. And uh, Ruby says, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, my granddaughter and I were there." And she says, "You have family." And he's like, "Yes." So it does make sense if you think about it from that point of view. Ruby might either be Susan, might either be offspring of Susan, because we don't really know what happened to Susan. Um, and we could also just be perhaps someone related to a Time Lord, maybe the Rani, something like that. We don't really know who she is. But it's interesting, and it was really a worthwhile episode. And I highly recommend this episode. If you were iffy on the first few episodes as I was, this episode really makes up for those episodes. And it's a different kind of episode. It makes you think and it keeps you thinking. It doesn't just either over explain things or not explain things at all. It leaves you guessing and thinking, but not in a bad way, in a good way. It's a very thought provoking episode in terms of the content and the writing, and I do have to really commend Russell T Davies for this episode because it's a deviation from the past several that he worked on, and thankfully there was no dance number at the end, so I was very happy about that. Um, uh, but it was a great episode, and I'm really impressed with it. And I think you should watch it if you haven't done so. you will still get a lot out of it, despite the fact that I've basically spelled out the whole thing. The fairy circle, just so that you're aware, is more of a, how can I put this? It's a plot device, basically, to make you kind of throw you off the scent of this woman being part of potentially something related to Time Lords and get you more thinking along the lines of something magical. Um, when in fact, the truth is, it has more to deal with time and the passage of time as we see Ruby going through her life, essentially. And it's interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this review of 73 Yards, the newest episode of Doctor Who. And I hope to see you all again next week for another episode. In the meantime, I'll be here throughout the week doing reviews, reactions, etc. I don't even know what's coming up. But we shall see as the days progress. For now, have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.